the work on your second Northern 336 and very happy with the results on the first one, your 332, so looking forward to this one. Right away, this one actually burst into life. We had the reverse unit locked into forward, so I took the reverse lock off, so we can see if we get reverse 2. So we've got forward and reverse. I'm hearing the humming coming from the horn and the tender, which again is not uncommon for these. I am going to go ahead and add a few drops of smoke fluid and see if we get some smoke. So I'll pause the camera for just a second. Well, this is interesting. I'm finally getting some smoke. I've been running it for a little bit, and I actually noticed a couple things. Number one, the RPMs of the motor took off. I mean, this thing started to go super fast, and then it would kind of slow down a little bit, like something was shorting a little bit, and I started to smell something hot, and I was trying to figure out what it was that I was smelling, and then all of a sudden smoke started coming out. So I don't know if there was something plugging up the smoke channels in the smoke unit or not, but you've got really good movement on this motor, and the smoke is really starting to work good now. So Phil, I wanted to bring you back now that I've got the tender shell removed and just show you a little bit about what's going on inside your tender. This is your speaker for your horn. The capacitor looks to be in very good working order. It doesn't, if these start to go bad, oftentimes you'll see the caps on the ends kind of bulge out, and this one is not. All your connections look great. The speaker's not perforated or torn. I mean, everything looks fantastic, in great shape. I even checked the fingers, and none of the fingers have any holes worn in them. So again, another great sign. I am going to go ahead and take the fingerboards off so that I can get to the drum and polish that up for you. Clean everything up there. But again, overall, great shape. The one thing that I don't know if you recall me talking to you about, but the steps back here on the rear of the tender, when the engine arrived, they were broken off. Fortunately, they did not get lost. They're right here. So I will go ahead and visit this with my friend, all of our friend JB Weld, and go ahead and reattach that. I may, I've been just thinking about how, is JB Weld going to be enough to keep that on there, keep it from snapping back off? I sure hope so. The other idea would be to try to reinforce that somehow, maybe put a small bracket back here behind it so that you've got this surface and that surface to also JB Weld to. I think I'll do that. Just made an executive decision. So I'll make a small L bracket out of brass, I guess. I could do steel, but I'll probably do it out of brass, and that'll give me a lot more surface area to support these steps, which I think will greatly increase its likelihood that it will not break off in the near future. So anyhow, just thought I'd bring you along for a quick update. All right, Phil, got some progress here. So good smoke. It's working well. And now all I've done is work on the reverse unit. I ended up replacing fingers, both top and bottom. I did find a hole on the top one. It had actually been twisted a little bit. So when I was using my probe and checking the normal spots, that's not where the wear was. And then I found the ones on the bottom to be super thin. They weren't through yet, but I'm sure you would not be happy to get this back in 6 months time or less, depending on how much you ran it. Suddenly it would stop working. So went ahead and changed those out for you, And I'm next gonna go ahead and get the undercarriage cleaned up, the wipers cleaned up, the wheels cleaned up, and sides all relubricated, and do the same with tender, and then move on to the motor and the engine. Right now, to polish up side gear, I put a lot of those components in the ultrasonic cleaner. There's just oil on everything, which isn't a bad thing, but I wanted to clean it all up and probably add the oil back on. But that's one of the steps I like to go through, just to make sure I'm doing everything I can to get your engine back to tip-top operating condition. So as I'm polishing up this would be the main piston rods, side rods here, I noticed something. This one's been put on backwards. So there's a little bit of, I don't know what you call it, just an indentation. And this is a side that usually shows outward, like you see here. And on side rods, you have a back side that's, flat, and then there'll be a little bit of detail in the front. So anyhow, it doesn't hurt anything to have it backwards. I just thought it was fascinating that, maybe it's possible it came from the factory this way, that, it's been that way since its inception, which, speaking of, I took the shell off and I was looking, which I like to do, and I don't know how well you can read that, but it says 1954. So this is the birth year of year 336. And anyhow, I just thought that was interesting, so I thought I'd bring you on board to show you that. I'm going to leave it as is. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with it, and it's kind of a cool error, if you will. So congratulations. Cool. Well, your engine continues to be full of interesting little tidbits. One other interesting thing that happened as I was reassembling everything, I had just done this side here, so it'd be the engineer's side, and as I would spin the wheel, it would bind up, and so I started to take things back apart because I was not able to see what collision was happening. I took the eccentric pieces off here. This assembly took that all away, so I was just left with the primary rod, and as I would move the wheel around, it would bind up when it was in this position. And so what I found, there are some rivets that hold this cross member piece to this plate, crosshead guide, and they slide back and forth as the wheels, move back and forth. And they were colliding with this screw. Now that's really interesting because to my eye, nothing looked bent, nothing looked out of whack, nothing that I could obviously see was wrong. But when I took your engine apart, there was a washer that fell out. It's a different kind of washer than what Flyer usually included, and I wasn't able to clearly discern where it came from, although I thought it might have been underneath this piece. And so I thought, well, I'm not really sure what that's doing there. I'm not going to put it back because it doesn't belong there. Wrong. That little washer serves as a spacer to move this section down just, a 30-second or so, which then is enough clearance so everything moves freely. But again, was this a factory thing, that this engine from the factory was just a little bit maybe out of square somehow, and everything was just twisted enough that it needed that little spacer? It's so minor that you'll never notice it, and certainly the engine runs beautifully. But again, thought it was fascinating and thought I'd share it with you.